Hey everyone, welcome back to the Vintage Super League, which will soon be joined by the Standard Super League, as you and Randy just announced.
Super Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm going to be, as you saw, in the booth for the majority of it, if not, well, just about every match. Though we're going to have some guests, and obviously it'd be great to have you doing commentary. As I've said before, I think you're the person whose commentary I've liked the most this season of Vintage Super League, and part of that is I hadn't heard you do much commentary before, and it's just like completely blown me away. So
Thank you, thank you. Like I said, they asked me about possibly going like pro tours and GPs, and I love playing Magic more than anything in the world. So it's pretty hard for me to want to go to a tournament and miss it. But then when I saw something like Efro is doing the mocks, I'm like, man, that would have been a perfect opportunity for me. I would love to do events like the mocks or the WMC or World events I'm not in. So if
yeah,
anybody out there, whoever makes that decision, although I know who the person is, if they're watching this, keep me in mind. I would love to do it. I
yeah,
really.
I'll send off some emails. See if I can add my name to the clamor that's asking for Dave to do more coverage.
Yeah, it's
So,
so go to a pro tour and not play. Oh,
well, yeah. I haven't crossed that line yet either. But speaking of commentary, what are we looking at in our next match here? We've got a Kai against Randy.
so yeah, me and Randy briefly talked about this, but I'd love to get your opinion and talk about it more. Kai is playing the deck that's crushed us all first trimester, the Blue Belcher deck, super explosive, capable of more turn one wins than I've seen a vintage deck have in the modern era. I mean, there used to be certain decks that could do it, but now with the mental misstep and force of will, the way decks are designed now, it's not likely that you see a lot of first turn kills. But this deck is definitely capable of it. It's super robust. But unfortunately, it's playing what could be viewed as like a foil to it. Randy Buehler and his Merfolk deck with so many cards that just match up well against it. Null Rod is insane. Mental missteps, force of wills, curse catchers to stop draw sevens. I mean, it's got so many tools that are really effective at fighting what Kai's trying to do.
Yeah, No Rod's the single best card in the format, I think. Well, Stony Silence, I guess, being the same. That the deck just can't deal with. If it's in play, the deck has one out, which I believe is just Tezzeret Academy. Tell an Academy to cast Tezzeret to attack with 5/5s. Basically, it kills all its lands and its kill conditions. So that's pretty much pretty much game.
I'm actually surprised and shocked. I don't have a Null Rod in my deck list because I don't really have any artifacts in my deck. I'm like, what was I thinking not playing Null Rod? Luckily, I haven't played against a deck where Null Rod would be great, but I think that was a flaw in my deck construction there because it's so powerful that if you can find a way to put it in your deck in Vintage, you should because Null Rod is incredible against almost everything people are trying to do.
Yeah, I almost any deck that I have that has two Moxes and a Lotus and that's about it, or one Mox and a Lotus, I tend to have a Null Rod somewhere just because I find the card is awesome in some matchups. So.
So do we have? Let's check a look at these deck lists. Let's pop. Let's get to. Or are they ready to play, or do we have the deck list?
So
All right, it looks like they're ready, so we can talk about the deck list. And the deck lists are available online if you haven't seen them, and they're about what you suspect if you've watched the Adventure Super League. There's not any crazy innovations in these decks. I don't think Randy is running the chalices that Chris is running, which actually would be great.
yeah, yeah. The chalices would really hurt Kai here because it's got a ton of 0 and 1 drops. You can play it for 0 on the play, and obviously playing it for 1 even a little bit later is still pretty good. But yeah, I mean Kai's trying to turn one kill. He's got Simian Spirit Guides. He's got every Mox under the sun, and he's trying to just belch Randy out.
Do you know what he removed for the Simian Spirit Guides from the previous incarnations of this list?
The main difference is he's got mental missteps in the sideboard. He does not have them in the main deck. He doesn't, and he has pact negations in the main as well. So I think he cut like the Mind's Desire and messed with the artifact count a little bit.
Weird. One of my favorite things to counter with a mental misstep is their mental missteps, which happen to be really good against you in this deck. So I really like having missteps to counter their missteps back. But you also can get a lot of hands that are very reactive with like mental missteps and force of wills and not really have combo pieces. So I guess, it's his take on the list and Simian Spirit Guides, and they want him to go faster. So he's chose to forego being defensive with counter spells and just try to go more faster, quicker.
Yeah, have the aggressive counterspell pact negation. Meanwhile, Randy is also a mono blue deck, but about the opposite mono blue deck that you can think of. As we just saw, Chris kind of dismantle Steve with a bunch of True Name Nemesis. That's not going to be the card that this matchup hinges on. It's actually probably our worst Merfolk. Because it doesn't increase the clock all that much, and it costs 3 mana, whereas all you really care about is resolving No Rod or having like Flusterstorm Force of Will up.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing that Randy has two no rods in the main deck and one on the side where he can go up to three no rods, which is kind of gross. So here are the opening hands here.
Wow, these are some opening hands. Chris, or rather Kai, he's got a looks like a turn one kill. I guess he could hit Academy with the first belch, but otherwise he can. Oh no, he even has the key, so he can just tinker for time vault, and then key, right? I guess he's got 3 mana, so he can't quite do that.
So yeah, he can go. He can.
He's 1 mana. He's 1 mana short of having turn one tinker, time vault, key, activate time vault by sacking the Lion's Eye Diamond.
Well, can he sack the Lion's Eye Diamond with Tinker on the stack?
Well, he can, but he's not able to cast key and tinker very easily. So Randy does have a turn one curse catcher, which is good here.
And
Though
he's
Kai,
follow up with a Lord.
yeah, this is quite a good hand normally, but and you note Randy that played a curse catcher instead of the second Lord, which is definitely a good play in this matchup.
Right. Unfortunately for Randy, he doesn't have any other counter spells, and depending on it looks like a mana crypt, which should give him enough mana to win here on the first time through the curse catcher because he's got plenty of extra mana now with mana crypt to pay for the curse catcher.
The only danger is that Kai could technically, like, if he goes for Vault Key, he could lose die to mana crypt flips before he wins the game. Alternately, he just goes for Belcher and belches and hopes not to hit Academy.
Or he can tinker away the mana crypt.
Oh yeah, of course. He's tinkering. Yes. I would imagine I would have just tinkered for Time Vault here. That seems a little safer. But if he's tapping the key, it looks like he's going for Belcher.
It's kind of interesting though, unless he's oh yeah, he's going to go for Belcher, and then he's going to play Lion's Eye Diamond, sack it, activate the Belcher, and hope he doesn't hit the Academy. Because you don't really want to leave your win condition out there without winning right away, because you allow Randy to have a Null Rod in his hand, and say you play Vault Key Go, he can just cast Null Rod. Or you play Belcher Go, he can just cast Null Rod. But with Lion's Eye Diamond, he's able to sacrifice it to activate this Belcher he goes to get, and most likely win on the spot or win next turn if he doesn't die or run into Null Rod, assuming he hits the Academy before he does 20 damage.
Yeah, but Randy would have no outs if Kai just got sacked Mana Crypt to get Time Vault, right?
Like, would he have had mana to activate it right away?
Yeah, he had enough mana.
So yeah, the game would just be over.
Yeah, so Kai actually gives Randy an out of... First, Kai has to hit Academy in the top 19 or 20 cards of the deck, and then Randy has to draw exactly Null Rod. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, we have seen some ridiculous things happen, so this is possible. Step one is to hit this Academy before 20 non-land cards. So let's see. Let's check this out here.
And Kai has enough mana that, you know, Wasteland or anything like that won't do anything. It's really just Null Rod at this point.
Yeah, he actually doesn't have any lands out, so there are no lands to Wasteland.
Yeah.
It's kind of incredible that you can win without ever playing a land.
I mean, he knows Randy has no Null Rod in hand.
Step one.
So he did fail to kill here.
Step one is complete. So now Randy has 2 outs in his deck, and it looks like there are 48 cards. I can't read how many underneath the arrow, but pretty low percentage chance he rips exactly Null Rod here. But like you said, it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, giving Randy, you know, a couple % chance instead of a 0% chance could end up costing Kai. We'll see.
And it's not going to do it.
All right, that was less exciting, but and you know that's how the Belcher deck obviously is going to pick up a ton of wins. Is it just can kill on turn one? The Merfolk deck has 3 Null Rods and 4 Force of Wills, but sometimes you just don't get to play those cards.
Yeah, so I don't know if I should talk about this, but it's just interesting anyway, so I will. In our Skype chat, Kai just actually typed, could have had Key Vault active, just saw it when I tapped the key. Brilliantly played. So Kai even saw his mistake and was a little harsh on himself, but he still got the job done, so.
Yeah, he actually just messaged me also, like, you know, they're saying basically the same thing, saying, you know, never fails. You see the right play like a second after you make that impossible. So,
which is I guess kind of reinforcing something I need to work on. Before you make any play, no matter how good and obvious and easy it seems, it's always good to kind of take a pause, take a beat, and just think for 1 second, like, is this exactly what I want to do? Because, like, right there, he's Kai Budde. He's one of the best in the world, and the play seemed pretty easy. I'm going to win the game, get my Belcher, but had he just taken maybe 2 seconds or just a quick pause and like, okay, is there another option I could do that might be better? He would have seen it, and he wouldn't have even had to take that risk of Randy drawing Null Rod. So pretty much in anything competition you do in life, it's always good if you have it, unless it's like obviously a speed contest like running. You don't want to take a second to think about your running. But if you have the luxury to take a few seconds, it's always good to take those few seconds because you might see a better line that even though you were 95%, now you can be 97%. So that's just that right there shows even the best make small mistakes.
Yeah, and I do completely agree with that, but you also have to keep in mind that sometimes you're not in a position to do that. So if you're going to have a game that looks like it might go to time or is very close to it, then I would not advise,
Yeah.
rethinking every play. But clearly, Kai's going to win on turn 1 or 2
Yeah,
or be
time.
dead by then. He's got all the time.
Let's look at these hands. Kai's hand actually doesn't look like it can get any mana on the first turn. He does have Force of Will, which is good, and he does have a Probe, which is kind of like a free card. So he does have a chance to get there. But Randy's hand, he has Lotus again.
How many Lotuses do the Merfolk decks get to play? Do they still just get to play one? Because
I feel like all 5 hands we've seen, there's been a Lotus in every hand.
yeah. Also, when I played against Chris last week.
Is there freeform? Is there some kind of check in place to make sure these guys aren't running multiple Lotuses?
Yeah. Kai's got a mulligan this, right? Like, even if he draws a mana source, you don't want to sack a Lines of Diamond to crack Expedition Map. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Ugh. And this hand is almost, I mean, he does have a misstep and a Forcible and a blue card for it.
That hand was worse. This hand seems keepable. It's not good, but
I think this hand is better than a random 4. You've got a Forcible for some first turn protection. You've got basically a free card in your Probe. If you do hit mana source, you've got a Soul Ring. And you can diminishing returns to get back in the game if you're able to find 2 colored mana. So I think he's got to keep this hand.
Yeah, Randy should reveal Force to this Silvergill Adept. That'd be sweet. Reveal any blue card or a Merfolk. But Annul.
Ooh.
Annul's a card. Do you not play the Lord now? It's so obvious that you have something. Yeah, it probably seems bad, right?
Well, I don't think it's obvious. First of all, if it's obvious, there's not much Kai can do about it anyways. He's not going to not play his cards. So I don't think obvious being matters. I think it's a factor of would you rather get the extra card in play or keep a null up? That's a tough question. I mean, you have a Force of Will, so you're not really likely to die first turn, which means your annul's going to have value next turn. But there's a chance the annul might not get to be played if you don't leave it up. So I might like to have annul plus Force of Will backup. It's tough. It's a really tough judgment call.
I also think it's interesting that Randy chose to play Phantasmal Image over the Master of the Pearl Trident there. I would have leaned towards playing Master just because I can tap Wasteland to cast Phantasmal Image, but he does get to draw an extra card. This makes it less likely he dies turn 1. He finds Misstep or Force of Will, so maybe that was just better.
Right. I actually like getting my double blue spell out first because, like you said, you can always play that later. And I don't think you have a null, you have Force of Will, you have blue card. I mean, I don't think you actually need necessarily the other card. And I like to get my clock because now you have 5 points of damage out, which is a 4-turn clock. As opposed to, I mean, I guess it ends up being 4 if you're able to find a blue and play your Lord now, but then you're not going to be able to keep blue up for your annul. Whereas the other option, if you don't draw the blue source, you're able to keep a null up. Now, if you draw a blue source, you have the same choice you just had. Do I play Lord or do I keep a null up? So I might have liked just playing a Lord here.
Yeah, I could see doing that. So Kai tanked for a while before casting Gitaxian Probe, which is understandable because he has a Chrome Mox in hand and he's, kind of using the card that he might want to feed it. But I guess he really just wants to be able to find a few more mana sources and maybe to cast a Diminishing Returns with Force back up here.
And it's actually seeing Randy's hand is very relevant. I mean, learning how to play, what to play around. Oh, okay, now he's got Force of Will. I don't want to go risk this. Or, okay, so he's got a null, so I can lead with a bait artifact next turn. I mean, seeing what you have to play around has a lot of value in this matchup.
Yeah. So if Kai draws like Academy or Lotus, he's going to have a turn 1 Diminishing Returns resolve. Here, it's not going to. He's not going to be able to play it. The question now is, you play Ruby's Soul Ring almost for sure. Do you play the Chrome Mox, or do you want to have to worry about it getting annulled? If you play Chrome Mox, what do you imprint? Do you cast Preordain? He's got some interesting decisions to make here.
Right, it's kind of rough because you want to keep the Force of Will to protect your Diminishing Return so that it resolves. Yeah. But if you put any of those cards, like if you want to cast Preordain, you have to put one of your other cards on your Chrome Mox, and you don't want to put your Diminishing Return. So I think actually you might just have to pass here, hope to draw another blue card or a mana source, like say your Expedition Map or Academy, so that you can kind of cast multiple spells.
I agree. I don't think Kai can afford to pitch a blue card this instant, especially since he can't even cast Diminishing Returns off of it. Randy is a little choked on double blue here because now he can tap out and not have a null up. He can also keep a null up, but then even next turn, unless he draws a blue source, he's not going to be able to play one of his Lords and keep a null up. I think he's just going to play a Lord this turn.
Yeah, he's kind of have to with the path he's chose to go down. This is another reason why I would have liked playing the Lord last turn, because now you can keep a null up. Next turn, you can play Wasteland and still cast your image and even make a Lord now and have a bigger clock and still leave open the blue mana for a null. So he's kind of got to just go for it now, which is another reason why Kai could probably say, well, if he draws a blue source, he's not going to be able to annul my Chrome Mox anyway, so I can hold it. And the Chrome Mox might look like bait.
Yeah. Randy is going to be only 1 point short next turn. If he goes for it, right? If he plays another Lord, he attacks for 11. So that actually shuts off Force of Will. So if Kai goes Mox, Imprint, Force of Will, cast, Preordain, and then finds the mana, yeah, Kai is going to be in danger of losing if he has to cast Force of Will at some point.
Wow, it's actually pretty incredible. If he it's like almost like you want to bait Kai to force back, and then you untap, play Lord, and win the game. So
yeah,
Kai's got to kind of do the math and be like, okay, he's got 8 in play. If he plays a Lord, it's 11. Maybe Kai's got to figure that out, that I don't want to cast Force of Will. But the problem is he might end up needing to cast Force of Will the following turn when he's at 1 also. So it's kind of a situation where there's not much he can really do about it.
Though if you're Kai, what exactly are you gaining by passing here? It almost feels like you have to Preordain.
Right. I feel like now you can put one of your Force of Wills on it because you've got backup and you don't have a second blue card for the second Force of Will anyway. So the second Force of Will is kind of just fodder for whatever you need it to be, which now is making a blue mana.
Yeah. The only problem is even if Kai finds mana, he knows that Randy has a Force.
And an annul, which he's, next turn will be up with Force backup. So it looks like he saw Force of Will misstep, which he wanted neither of those cards. And he found a Chrome Mox. So unfortunately for him, this hand cannot get through Force of Will and null. And now Randy drew another counter, although that counter doesn't really matter right here. It's just a card to pitch to your Force, but it allows him. No, you can't keep up a null and play your Lord anyways. So I think since the clock doesn't change unless you want to shut off Force of Will, that's the only thing you have to think about. But Kai doesn't have the cards in hand to be able to cast Force of Will and cast draw spells anyways.
Yeah, so and Kai's short on mana, so a null really can stop that.
Right, so that's another argument I'd say to leave up a null and Force of Will.
And Kai's, even if he found literally Tolarian Academy, would I assume be short? Yeah, he wouldn't be able to cast Diminishing Returns and hard cast Force of Will. Which Academy does get you to pretty quickly, but...
So here we've had 2 pretty lopsided games.
Yeah, Kai mulled to 5, and Randy is going to win without having to cast Force of Will. I assume Randy is annulling this. And even if he doesn't, he's got the Force of Will for the Diminishing Returns. And Kai knows all this, but he still has to just cast his spells.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to concede. You never know, your opponent might just have a brain fart and forget and not cast a spell or not do something. So pretty easy wins for both players here.
Yeah. We'll see if Kai can keep a 7 on the play here, since that may be what's necessary. I mean, the Belcher deck, I don't know. It mulligans a lot, and it doesn't seem like it mulligans insanely well, though maybe it's a little more resilient than it looks like, is what I've been told, at least.
It's kind of funny. We're both rooting for different things. You want to keep from, a match below you, at least, if you were to lose.
I actually, because Chris already is forcing a playoff for first place, it means that I have to win anyway, so I actually am rooting for Kai here, just because I would rather up the odds that you stay in the league. So.
So you're rooting for Randy, you mean?
Sorry, that's what I meant. I'm rooting for Randy because I would rather up the odds that you stay in the league.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm not rooting for the person that impacts first place all that much.
Wow. So Kai's hand looks insane at first glance, but then you realize it doesn't do anything. It has mana.
It has to be an easy keep, though.
No, it's a keep. You've got Misstep for a Curse Catcher if you need it, or for whatever, for an annul later. You've got a Force of Will, but it actually doesn't do anything, although the deck is full of cards that do, so all it has to do is find one, and it's not going to have any trouble forcing it through. But Randy's hand is actually pretty robust also, with a Force of Will, and a Null, a Misstep. He doesn't have a second blue for the Lord, but he can get a Curse Catcher out. So these hands are pretty amazing. I don't know who's favored with these hands.
I feel like Kai might be slightly ahead here, because if he draws any gas card, he can just resolve it. But he really needs to not play that Academy. Randy's going to misstep this, and I think Kai's very happy about that. Well, I guess this is a Mox Sapphire. I'd still let the misstep happen here, I would assume.
Yeah, but it's kind of cute how, now he's going to drop the Academy. Well, actually, he's not going to drop it because it could get Wasteland exposed. But when he does have the Academy, Randy's like, oh, man, that annul could have gotten something else. But there are no other artifacts in his hand anyway, so it's not going to end up really being too relevant. Now, this curse catcher actually could be relevant in constraining his
Yeah.
mana, so yeah, he's going to have to misstep this.
I like misstepping this. So now Kai just needs to draw action. He's got a couple turns probably. Randy's got no clock, so and now Kai's gonna get to see what's going on over there.
Yeah, and his Academy plus those Moxes makes exactly 4. So if he were to draw diminishing returns, he's got Force of Will backup. He's got a fresh hand.
The only awkward part is if Kai does draw like a Belcher and he casts Belcher. I mean, he should cast it, but then Randy wastelands the Academy and Kai's just on Belcher and 2 mana. That's still a good position to be in with Force of Will in hand still. Like, though I guess the forces are trading at that point.
So he drew another Mox here. Without Mind's Desire, there's no real reason to hold them, but there's also no real reason to play it now. You can always play it later.
It is.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, if Kai hadn't seen Wasteland, I could see wanting to play Academy to leave hardcast Force up, but against Wasteland, that's just insanity.
Yeah, because there's only one in the deck, so you're going to have to shuffle it back in. Now, here we go. But now Randy has a null plus Force of Will backup, and Kai knows that, so there's no reason to go for it either because you know you're just going to have no hand left, and then you're going to get Wastelanded.
So Kai's a turn late on this. The question now is, does Randy play a Lord? It seems like it's pretty tough just to play a Lord here, right?
Well, with Steel Sabotage and a null, so now he's got triple counter up.
Yeah.
I don't think I would play a thing.
The Windfall is kind of interesting. Because you can Windfall with Force up, and then you each draw like 3 cards, and your Academy gets wasted. Oh, Kai's running a Mox out to get countered. Okay.
Well, see, the thing is, to play the Windfall, he has to play the Mox. And if you're Randy, you can't let the Windfall resolve because you lose all your counters. But then again, you don't want to Force a Will because it gets forced back. But if you do, then the hand sizes are so low. So it's actually kind of an interesting spot, but it's not going to matter. But now both his cards are getting countered.
Yeah, so Kai's getting wrecked here because Randy played the card Kai knew about. So Kai now is going to... He can force back, but he knows that Randy has his own force as well.
And then Randy's going to Wasteland, so it's just going to leave Kai with 2 mana. And, he chose to get rid of the Windfall, I guess, because both their hands are going to be empties anyway.
Yeah.
I actually might like holding on to it because you can, assuming you're not dying, if he's Force of Willing away his creatures, you might be able to build up a hand so that the Windfall has some value, but you never know. Maybe you want the Force of Will for future things like Null Rod and blue card.
I assume Randy's favorite at this point, having... basically, Randy's going to have a 2/2 and a random card in hand versus Kai's 2 mana plus Force of Will in hand.
Right, with the Academy in the graveyard, so you can no longer top deck that later, too. You're going to have to diminishing returns if you want to get that back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate for him that Randy drew another 1-mana counter artifact spell that he didn't know about.
Yeah, it's certainly right for Kai to go for it there, but it just ended up working out poorly.
So here's a spot. Do you play the Strip Mine and let him know that you're all in, or do you just keep it in your hand so that, he thinks you have 1 card relevant in your hand?
Probably better to keep it in hand, though. Hey, Mox was a good draw. I might actually just play that. Yeah.
And Kai follows the other Hall of Fame Pro Tour champion.
Kai drawing a mana source there makes it so he's not in the worst shape imaginable. Randy still doesn't have anything.
Right. Does he have any 3-mana act? Oh, there we go.
So he drew land Tinker? Yeah, you just cast Tinker now and get Belcher, right? And then just...
1 mana away from just winning the game.
Yeah.
Because now the lands are out of your deck. Wow, this is pretty incredible. I was thinking this game was over. Mana
I was too.
To Tinker.
Mana Source and a Tinker is a nice little sequence.
Oh my gosh. So now Randy really wants a Null Rod as soon as possible. I guess the Steel Sabotage is actually pretty good too. He can bounce it back to his hand.
True. Lord is not terrible. It gives Kai only a couple draw steps, right?
Yeah, I can't take it.
Kai has like 2 draw steps here. Exactly 2 draw steps. All right, here we go.
He's going to 12, and he's got 2 3/3s. So he
draws.
So
that was definitely not one of Randy's best draws, but it was probably like the level below that, right? It cut off Kai's draw steps pretty dramatically.
Oh God, I'm so nervous right now. Come on, Randy.
And now they're just sitting there.
What are they doing? Like
this is a 6 slow roll.
Just be a diminishing returns or something, or a map. Be a map. I hate rooting for people, but this is me on the line.
This is where it gets personal.
Oh, that's it.
All right.
So it looks like Kai is safe, and Kai will be back next season.
Yeah, unless he cited in Risha's workshop, which does not appear he did. Wow, that was an insane sequence of top decks. I guess the Belcher deck's great if you just get to Vampiric every turn.
Well, I think he would have picked maybe some different if he was vampiricking.
Sure.
Those are pretty good draws.
They were not bad draws. Let's just put it that way.
Oh man. Oh well. So now the tie can only be between 3 and 5, depending on Tom and Rich joining me, Bob, and Steve. This is all assuming I win out, because if I lose, there's no reason. But
Correct.
So Kai is safe, which is, I like having Kai around. I like having everybody around, but I wanted the 6-way tie. I wanted more action.
The 6-way tie would have been nice. I will admit that. So we're gonna take a quick break, and then I get to battle next round. Actually, I'm battling against Rich Shea here, and I do not think I'm a favorite. Let's just put it that way.
Unfortunately, this is it for me. I'll be playing in round 5, but no more commentary for me. Hopefully next season, which would mean I gotta win. But I'm excited. I'm about to do some play testing, practice a little bit. So take a while. Take your time. Give me some more time.
Yeah, we'll do. Good luck, and we'll see you guys back in a couple minutes.